Okay. Hey, everybody, this is Flip the Switch. I'm Marla Schultz, and today we have the lovely and talented multi-hyphenate Tracy Esposito. She is a stand-up comic. She's an actress. She's a writer. She coaches people on speaking. She moved out to Los Angeles in the 2000s. She wrote a one-person show called Chicken Parmigiana, and she's been on Comedy Central. She's been on NBC. She's worked with Robert Klein and Louis Anderson. And Trey, you're my good friend. I love you. You're funny AF. And I love, love, love what I read this about you. You said after 9/11, you had to make a choice because you had to mourn your country, your city, and your mother passing. And at that moment, you had to reinvent and find yourself. So,
Oh, wow.
how you doing?
You know what? I was excited all day just to see you. We go back way back. You know what I mean?
The
So always made me
best.
laugh. We've always stayed in touch, and I love that because some people just don't. So I just want you to know I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you because nobody makes me laugh like you. And honestly, I could gossip with you and
Oh,
to the grave. Tracy, she would call me up and be like, Marla, I got to tell you something, but it's to the grave. So every time I say to the grave, I think of you. And
I know.
we could just get into it and just know it wouldn't go anywhere. Not that we're real gossips or anything. You know what I mean? I'm
Oh,
not
what is there to say now? But back then, it's like, who has a deal?
right.
What?
But speaking of deals, Trey, you showed up on the scene because we both started around the same time, mid 90s. You show up on the scene and your jokes, I am Tracy Esposito. I'm Jewish. People think I'm Jewish. And it's funny because people always thought I was Italian.
You do look it. Oh my God, that's so interesting. We have the different, wow. Yeah,
Yes,
well, you
yes,
do. You
yes.
look it, you got the dark. You got the
I got
dark.
the dark and the small nose. And my mom used to always say, three Jewish kid, no nose jobs, no braces.
That's in your act, I hope.
Do you remember, like, what are some of your great memories of when we first started out and the clubs that we used to go
Yeah,
to?
you know what? I was thinking about it today. Through my life, I must have hit a lot of open mics, even in California, you'll stop by one. But I think the best time was Gladys's first room. Was
Yeah.
it called Coldwater or something on 49th Street and on
And
the east
Second
side?
Avenue. That was the
Yeah,
best.
was it Cold Stone or Cold Water, whatever it was.
No,
It
don't say Cold
was.
Stone. You're going to trigger that I'm going to want to run out and get some ice cream.
Oh, you what?
Sugar
Yeah, there's
addict.
one right around the corner from here. But you know what I mean? Like it was set
Cold
up.
Waters.
Cold Waters, that's what it was.
Yep.
That was the fun time, but I was terrible. But we all used to stay on the stairs and wait to sign up,
Yep.
Rod Reyes, everybody.
No, it was a really good time. Sarge and I mean Jim
Oh,
Gaffigan was there. There was just so many of us. Sam Brown, but I just thought starting off in the '90s, there was such camaraderie,
oh
and
yeah,
even though we were all vying for the same spot. One of the best times to start off doing stand up in the city. What do you think?
you know what it really was. There was no social media. Like we didn't have that extra thing. So I know what you mean though, because when I look back today, I said, wow, that really was an amazing part of my life, which I never knew I would say later on, because when
Right.
you're in it, there is some negativity sometimes, or you're struggling, you have to live with three people and you're doing all this stuff. But as the years go by, you say to yourself, what a fantastic time when we were so innocent in our 90s. Today it's hard with the social media and what's going on today. It's a little bit more innocent now. I mean, back then it was so innocent.
Remember, I was out all the time. And even though we were putting our asses on the line and we could have a bad show and that could just like ruin our week and send us
Oh yeah.
into an addiction, but just going out and I mean, dancing and the music and, yeah, I live with roommates, but it was such a fun time. And I wouldn't want to be a comic starting out now.
Exactly, exactly. I understand what you're saying. I look back at my life, and it was the fall of 1996
Hmm.
that I moved to the West Village over the Fantastics, the play on Sullivan Street, over the Fantastics. And I truly have to say to you today, at 53 years old, that was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
of my life, of moving
Yeah.
into New York City, trying to get on at the Boston Comedy Club, running to New York Comedy Club, knowing that you're just a train ride away and you're okay. Like I can't explain it. Leaving Staten Island and getting on that. So it was just absolutely the best time of my life.
Do you remember your first joke?
My first joke. Well, when I got on stage for the first time, everyone from my job was there. So I said, "Oh, my boss is in the audience. I guess this is a good time to ask for a raise." You know what I mean? And they,
Hilarious.
you know what I mean? But like honestly, I was just like always talking about like TV commercials, like constipation. Like I never really talked about me until I kind of met Steve Marshall, and he's like, "What's going on with you?" And then I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like let's talk about how everyone thinks I'm Jewish."
So funny. You know what I say? My biggest compliment you could give it to a Jewish person is like, "Oh my God, I thought you were Italian." And you say that to like an Italian person. You're like, "Oh, are you
Yeah.
Jewish?" They're like, "No." And it's like,
I,
hey,
I,
chill the f out, okay?
uh, to this day, when I meet a Jewish person, I go, "Look, Italian and Jewish, same,
Same.
same thing, same thing,
Yeah.
same thing." You know what I mean? Same thing.
But
Yeah.
you know what I loved about your act, and I still love, but it was that you had this like adorable, flirty sassiness. You'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna rush you home."
Oh my God, I know. I thought Moses was hot from that movie. I said, I love that I look Jewish. I said, Moses was hot in that movie. Let my
Right.
people go. I mean, so someone says, Tracy, you're pretty horny up there, but whatever. I'm like, what do you mean?
Right,
And
right,
Steve goes, Moses gave us the 10 Commandments, and you're talking how hot he is?
right.
I can't help. I said, I can't help it. I can't
You're
help it. So
so
there was that
funny.
flirtatious. There was that
You
flirtation.
had a big tragedy. You lost your mother at a very, very young age, and you wrote Chicken Parmigiana. And what was it about that, the writing process and creating that piece of art that helped you, heal and find yourself?
Yeah, because after 9/11 happened, it was like 9/11 was the catalyst. I said,
Yeah,
it's 8 years my mother's dead. I acted out in ways with sugar, with men. If I wasn't going to talk
yeah.
about it, like you have to grieve, you have to talk about it. So when 9/11 happened, I said, I got to write about it. So I started writing on my own.
Good for
And then I
you. Like,
wrote it. I
wait, did
wrote,
anybody suggest that, or you just had that, that intuition to do it?
well, that's a really good question. There was a comedian, I don't know if you remember, she was a little bit older than us, Pat Candaris.
Yeah,
Pat
very
was in her late,
funny.
yeah, Pat, very, very funny.
Really
And
funny with those big
yeah,
glasses.
yeah, there you go. You remember. And Pat said, you left Staten Island. Nobody leaves that island. You have a story to tell. And I started writing. And of course, it wasn't great. What I was writing was kind of depressing. There was definitely a few jokes. But who really helped me with the arc was Kirsten Ames. Do you remember Kirsten Ames would help people with a one-person show?
Oh
She would help
yeah,
people.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I,
I
at the,
I I
yeah,
worked with her.
making money. And I sat with her for like at least a few months. And she helped me develop this arc.
Wow.
And she said, I know that there was some tragedy at that home, but there's definitely love. And let's talk about some funny times that happened at that when she was sick. And I couldn't wait to do it. It was a whole new world for me when I did it. It released all this anger, all this resentment, and it really saved me. I feel like this show saved me because I needed to grieve her and I didn't know how. And I did with this play.
Interesting. You have the unbelievable talent of taking painful things and making it funny.
Hmm.
Did you grow up wanting to be a stand-up comic?
No, I really, when E.T. came out with Steven Spielberg,
Yeah.
with that whole thing, I said, okay, either I want to be on the camera or I want to be behind it. But I definitely love show business. So by 1981, I was in. So I must have been like 11. I said I was in. And then I went to acting school in 1991. And was it 1991 or something like 92? And I went to Lise Dragonberg's and she goes, you're very funny. She said, if you could do stand up, you could do anything. And that was the hook. Yeah, she said that. And I felt so like, oh, I could do this. And then I could do
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. So that's what it was. But I never had listening to like old comedians as a kid. I never did any of that. But you know what though? It was so exciting. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to
Yeah,
start.
I just remember you arriving on the scene and boom, next thing you know, you're doing premium blend. Was that really scary?
Oh, yes. Now what happened was, is, you know what, it really was scary because they said read off a teleprompter. And keep in mind, the next day I was moving to Los Angeles when I filmed Premium
Yeah.
Blend. Okay, no, no. If anything, the question was, is Premium Blend was exciting. It was a little nerve-wracking because of the teleprompter, but that came years later. What it was is when I moved to Manhattan in 1996, by 1997, I had representation that was pretty big at the time. And
Yeah.
that's when everyone started buzzing about me. And I was like, wow, it felt it felt really nice. I almost felt like the it girl for a moment.
Just a moment.
You know what? A few months, maybe maybe a year where it was like, oh, okay. And people like, oh, you have him? Oh, you have really? You know, and I was like,
Yep.
and I knew I had to work harder.
Right. Right. When did you move out to LA?
When Hurricane Katrina hit, it was the end of August of 2005.
But do you remember we shared a very solemn moment? JFK Jr.
Oh my
Do you
God.
remember? We went to his house and we laid flowers and we were both crying. Remember how we were devastated
And let
over
me tell you
that.
something. I went to mass. I went to like some kind of confessional booth, and I
Hmm.
told the priest, I go, I don't know what it is. I just can't shake this.
Yeah.
And you know, but someone said the reason you're so upset is because he was so good looking. But it wasn't,
He was. He
I mean,
was.
I don't know if that was it, but I felt like he represented New York.
He
You know, I
represented
really
New
felt,
York and my master and my like self-pleasuring fantasies.
oh,
I mean,
I mean, that
come
was a hot guy.
on.
That was a hot guy. And I remember when I worked in Tribeca on a day job, and that's why they go, where you go? And I'm walking with flowers. They go, where you going? I said, to the grave.
Yeah.
And I was going to his place, and I think, did we go at night? No, I think we went
We
during the day.
we met like after work and we both brought
Yeah.
flowers and we were both just devastated. And I think we went to Bubby's, which was right down the block from his house, and we were just shoving pie in our face, going, "Oh my God, I'm so
Yeah,
sad."
so that was 22 years ago. That was 22 years ago.
Okay, that freaks me out. Anyway, back to that moment. I had been to a couple of parties that JFK Jr. was there, and I saw him on the Upper East Side
Oh, wow,
riding his
Mom.
bicycle without his shirt on, his sweat, it was glistening like the end, it was like 4 o'clock with that beautiful sun, and it just like highlighted his 12 pack. But he was an
Like,
Adonis. He was
yeah.
out of this world.
When he was riding his bike, was any reporters looking at him taking pictures, or no, they just,
No, but he always had those
no.
cool little glasses and a back, and he had like
Yeah.
that little biker cap that people wore. Seeing him, it would like set my day. It was like Prozac.
Yeah,
I
no,
love
no, no.
him.
Like, I think today, what would he look like 22 years later
Still hot.
with that
Still
12 pack?
hot.
Molly, you are funny. He'd be
Still
driving
hot.
down with his 12 pack. Oh my God, just totally gorgeous, but totally, totally upsetting that it really shook me.
And then was that the same year with Princess Diana? Because that
No, she was a year before. She was a year before. She was in, I think she was 97
it
and
was
he was 90.
97, and it was in September, and I was sitting. I know exactly where I was. I was
Wasn't
in
that Labor Day weekend? That was Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day
No?
weekend. I was ordering my drink, my mojito, my MARLA Hito, which is
Yeah.
vodka, soda, 3 limes. I was at Cyril's on the beach between Amagansett, and that was like my hangout in the summer. And I was ordering, I look up and it flashed up Princess Diana dead in a car crash. And I dropped my drink and it was like, "Ah!" Because I just loved her. And I had the same reaction to JFK, but let's move off of the death thing.
Yeah, no, yeah. God rest his soul.
So tell me, so your stand-up career, you move out to Los Angeles.
Yeah, I move out for the play. Yeah, I move out for the my big fat Greek wedding was hot.
Okay.
And I thought one person shows were hot. And I remember speaking to Lisa Lampanelli, and she's like, well, you should move to LA. That's what, and as soon as I moved out, I called the Los Angeles Times because someone gave me their phone number and said, hey, I just want to know if you need anyone to interview. And I actually did a piece on one person shows. So within 5 months, I was on 2 news channels and in the LA Times. And Lisa Lampanelli goes, "Who gets that in 5 months in LA?" It was a great story, but like then when someone did see it, they're like, "Do you have the screenplay?" So then I had to take another year to write, to
Right.
write the screenplay with a coach and process. But I really moved out there for that play. I wanted no interest in stand-up. But then I slowly yeah, I didn't want to start all over again, Mal. I didn't want to start all over again. I realized what happened was when I moved to when I left those managers, I started getting things on my own of
Right.
2005.
Right.
I got Premium Blend. I got the Montreal Comedy Festival. I moved to LA and I'm getting all these Jay Leno Tonight Show auditions. And I'm on with Sebastian. I'm on with Daniel Tosh. And I didn't even want to be there. But I
Wow.
pulled, yeah, I just, because my thing was making this play into something. It was just a drive that I had, like when I moved to New York City. It was all about the stage time. In LA, it was all about getting that play up, getting a PR person, getting anyone to see it. And I got Ron Howard's people that came down and saw it, and they just went, "Where's the movie?" And of course, when I finished that movie, I couldn't find her contact, but whatever. I mean, it just,
You have to
I
back it up
had,
in the iCloud. You got to back up all the contacts, and people keep Excels and spreadsheets.
oh, I love it.
I loved it, and I do miss it. I love the comedy scene. I'm still really tight with all the girls that I
Oh, that's
met doing
great.
stand-up. Lisa Sunstead
Lisa
and Pretty
Sunset,
Funny.
yeah.
And I started doing her shows because I got a manager out there, and I remember Seinfeld's managers wanted to wanted to manage me, and I was like, oh my God, they're too big.
Oh
Blah
my
blah
God,
blah.
wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But I didn't go with them because, I had no self-esteem, and I was like, oh no, they're too big, blah, 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 blah. But, I booked a lot of TV out there, and I moved back here to New York in 2011 and whatever, I got married, and it's like, I'm up first refusal for like everything. And I've booked a lot of cop stuff here. Anyway, it's not about me.
That's hilarious. No, it's hilarious. I booked some cop stuff. So when I moved here in 2005, you left to go to New York. So we never really we missed each other.
But we kept in touch. We always acknowledge that even though we're nutty and we're comics and we put our asses on the line, and people could like us or hate us, and then if we bomb, it would just send us off into a tizzy. But we always said the reason we gravitated towards each other because we were both like on the normal side in the comedy world.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It wasn't our whole lives, right, Mal? It was
right, Trey.
Right. It wasn't a whole life. Like, it was nice to do the one-person show and get away from some of the clubs, because I did a lot of clubs in New York City while I was still doing the show. But it was nice to let go of a few gigs and say, I have a show tonight and it's off Broadway and it's great. It was just nice to have that feeling. But I tell you, I ended up, you'll ask me later, but I ended up going back to stand up. It's like you go back to your roots, like just Seinfeld did too,
But you're so good. You're so good at it. Now, what advice would you give a young comic coming up now?
A young comic coming up now is, what I would say to them is, write about you, write about the truth. Fine, but what makes you stand out of everybody, or what makes you stand out from people as a comic, is your truth, your story, your experiences. We want to hear that because nobody could take those. So I think I would say that. I would say make sure you have a job during the day, so you're not worried about money.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember Lisa Lampanelli giving a big speech to comics when they started out. She goes, make sure you have a day job because you don't want to be worried about your finances at night. And she had it right. Like, you just focus, you got your bills paid, you just focus on the comedy. Yep. But yeah, that was, I would say, write about you and have a day job. Write about you. But
when you say write about you, I think, Susie Essman gave me great advice, and she said something along those lines, like, mill your life, but you should also work on yourself, go to therapy. Joy Behar even said that too. It takes about 10 years to become a really good comedian. You have to peel away the layers of the onion, and Susie was a really big therapy head, and she was a mentor to me, and that's the advice she gave me. And I've worked on myself, and it really helped because, when you want to get to your truth, you have to know yourself, and you have to know your reactions and your triggers and what does this and what does that and how to deal with things. So, working on yourself.
Yeah, and at the time, I always had therapy. Every therapist pleaded me to grieve my mother, and I couldn't do it. It took a terrorist attack to make me see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, yeah, you know what? I think that's really good, and that's something that just passed right by me. You're right. Like, get to know yourself, even if you have to go to a 12-step meeting. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I could say I've been to a few, and that was better than therapy for me. I mean, but that was an inside job. I really had to dig deep, and
Well,
yeah.
I'm a big 12 stepper. I learned something else. Oh, do you hear that bell? That's my dog
Yeah.
telling me it has to go
Oh
to
my
the
God.
bathroom.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Do you want to go? I
Yeah.
mean, do you want to put me on hold?
No, I'm not going to put you on hold.
Okay.
This is, oh God. And if I don't pay attention, ding, 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 ding. I mean, it's a really
Oh, so he
funny,
knows how to
smart
ring the bell.
dog.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Wait,
Oh my God. Oh, is this a poodle?
no,
It's not a
no.
big dog. It's a little dog, right?
It's a
Yeah.
little
Step.
teeny
Yeah,
dog.
12 step. I mean, you know what it was? I was this girl with a big ego and low self-esteem. That's who I
Yes.
was.
But it's
That
not
has changed.
necessarily a big ego. It's almost like, for me, it was a defense. I mean, because I got bullied and I was picked on and blah, blah, blah. But being funny was like a shield, and being able to like slice and dice somebody with your words and get everybody
Yeah.
laughing. That was like
Yeah.
the best
Yeah, no, that
form
really
of
was. Yeah,
defense.
yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. That is, yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what,
mine was just, yeah, it was all about me. That's all I was gonna say. It was always all about Tracy and the drama. It was, that's what made me go. Someone goes, just try it, try Al-Anon, and it just worked. It
yeah,
just worked from day one.
because it makes
Day
you get
one.
to the truth. Is it safe to say that humor has been a real guiding force and a healing force in your life?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, it has. I mean, if I can tell you the stories that I had with my mother dying and how we found ways
Oh,
to
yeah.
just to look back and say, I mean, I just thought of the funeral. Like, you're outside of the funeral parlor. It's January. It's the coldest January in New York
Mm-hmm.
City in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And my family's running back and forth. And when they open the door, it looked like Black Friday. Everyone just rushes in, and I'm
Right.
going, what's going on? Like, is there free coffee? And all they want to do is run to the body to see if it looks like her. And I'm like, and
Oh
this,
my
yeah.
God.
And after they look, my father goes, they do good makeup. I want to get buried here. I mean, but like ran in there like Black Friday. And I'm like, I don't understand what they're doing. And I just was like, oh, crazy.
That's nuts. That's
But that, see how,
nuts.
but that, like you said, I got to find a way to put that in my act and say, has anyone buried a body? I mean, I love the Jewish people. They have the food. It's great. I went to a Jewish shiva. I said, I never had such good salmon. I turned around to the guy. I said, are you having another person die soon in your family?
That's funny.
So, you know what I mean? But again, it's the truth, right?
I think it's, we Jews, you're dead, you die, boom, you're in the ground the next day. And you're right. It's like a food orgy. It's
Oh, I love it.
amazing the people that show up with all the food. Do my dad died, and there was always a lot of humor, and he was funny, 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 funny. And he did an
Yeah.
hour of stand up they moved to like this over 55 development, did an hour of stand up for the Shalom Club. And
Oh my God.
yeah, hour. And I said, Dad, don't you want to rehearse? For an hour is a long time. He's like, nah, I got it. He broke down jokes of ethnic jokes, like Jewish jokes, Italian jokes, Irish jokes, jokes from this, jokes from that. But his brain, I wish he could remember so many jokes. It was like an encyclopedia. But as he was dying, and he was in hospice, he started seeing his mother and his father, because that's what happens when
Yeah.
you die. You start seeing people. And I said, oh, let me just back up. He did so well at this show that he got booked for the following summer at the sister community. But in
Oh
my
my God.
heart, I didn't think he was going to be around because his health was declining. So I even said to him, I said, you think maybe you could get them to move up the date? I mean, why do you want to wait till next summer to perform? So as he's dying, I said to him, I go, Dad, if you see a bright light, that means you're on. Head to the stage. There'll be audience will be all revved up, ready to go. Just head towards the light. And he died a little bit afterwards. So,
I'm sorry. How old was he?
83.
Oh,
83.
wow.
Yes.
Okay.
It was time. It was time because we were
No,
all
I know.
like,
My mother was 56. It almost seems like a
that's
crime,
young.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's like
But
our
still,
age.
any age we miss them, and we
Sure.
don't think it's fair. Yeah, but wow, I'm good. But you find the funny moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
You
I
find
had
the funny.
to. You have to. The best was he was in the hospital and he was screaming. He's like, let me tell you something. This chicken, it's like what Germany did to Poland, scorched earth. I mean, he was such a pain in the ass but so funny at the same time. Anyway, it's just I'm grateful to him for the gift of humor. And it sounds like your family was really funny too.
Yeah, like she was. I'm going to tell you this real quick because people go crazy. There was a night where she looked like she was going to die, and the whole family was over. But it really looked like she was just taking a nap, but she was just laying there. And my father drags everyone into the kitchen, and he goes, "I think tonight's the night." And you got to help me write an obituary. I don't know how to write. So he gives it to my sister, who's the smartest one. He goes, "Here's a pen. I want you to say this: beloved wife, mother of 6 children." And as he's going on and on, my mother screams for the living room and says, "Do you mind? I'm trying to take a nap. I'm
Oh
not
my
dead
God.
yet."
Oh my God, that is so funny. You have
Funny.
to laugh at those moments because, if you can't celebrate somebody's life and how much I think to me, I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to being a comic and laughing at stuff because, I always say in order to get through the pain, you got to laugh at it because it takes away the intensity of it.
You finding a sense of humor, you have to find light of things. You just have to. Not it just
Right,
not everything's a tragedy. Come on, we got to find some humor because life is hard. It's good to look at make it light. Just make it light.
right. So what are you doing to keep it light? And have you been dealing with this whole lockdown and COVID?
Yeah, you know what? In the beginning, I was good. I was good in the beginning because there was
What's
certain
good?
people that I. What was that? Which good? Like what was
No,
that?
like when you say I was good, like what is being
Oh,
good
meaning
to you?
I didn't panic. I kind of had a little anxiety at the supermarket, but I just felt like it
What?
got me out of a lot of stuff I didn't want to go back to. There was certain
Interesting.
people I worked for, there was certain meetings I didn't want to go to anymore. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God, you heard my prayer. There was just things that I didn't want to deal with that was blamed on COVID. And I was like, okay, I absolutely can say to you that I developed a higher power like I never had before. I've always had a relationship with a higher power, but it was much stronger this time. And I made time to meditate. I have a whole new system now. I get up as soon as I get up, I meditate, I pray, I go to my meeting. Like I have like
You're
this thing,
disciplined.
yeah. And I want and
Have you
yeah,
always been disciplined?
no, it's always about.
Serious?
Yeah, no, well, discipline with the comedy, like I have to
Hmm.
say, stand-up comedy and the writing, of course, but with life itself and like working out, trying to juggle a boyfriend, trying to work out, trying to pray, trying to get to your meetings, trying to coach this one, trying to do that.
Right.
I mean, you absolutely have to write out an effing schedule. This is like,
Yeah.
great, you have to like, and then the weekend you just try to take it easy a little bit.
Well, that's good. No,
But
that sounds really healthy. That sounds really, and
yeah,
it's a
I,
lot of self-care.
you know what? It's nice out here in California with this pandemic. They're very good with the masks. They're very careful. They try to be. You call up in New York and my sister's like, we're all doomed. This is it. Like, you don't want to be over there.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So yeah, I have to say this was a good experience. The weather was always warm. You know what I mean? Like it was just, but it did get scary when you couldn't find toilet tissue. I mean, like it did get. I was
Well,
a little bit in denial.
let me tell you, my husband
I wasn't in New
is,
York. Yeah.
he's a prognosticator. He can predict everything. So, we live in an apartment and he's like, I think the toilet paper shortage is happening again. I was like, oh God. So I had to move my couch out because it's storage bin now. And I have 48 rolls of Charmin double roll behind it's still
Oh
in the
my,
box. Yeah.
oh
For a long
my.
time, the apartment started looking like a
Like
Costco
Costco?
aisle. Yeah.
Oh my God, put that in your act.
No,
That's
it is.
hilarious.
I would show you, we have 6 boxes of shredded wheat. That's the only cereal we eat. It's, low in sugar, high in fiber. We have about 20 cans of Costco solid white tuna in water. And then
Wow.
we got a double order of the Italian crushed tomatoes because I make a marinara, vegetable
Yes.
marinara. Mwah, that would make you cry, Trey. You'd be like, you are Italian. I said, yep, I was always adopted at birth. I knew it. I knew it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, good for you.
So
Yeah.
you
No,
went,
I mean, there's a thing where I saw on Facebook, they said January 1st, 2020. Woo, this is going to be a great year. March 14, 2020. I'm wiping my ass with a coffee filter.
right, right. I know people that were doing that. That's insane. Take care of yourself. I had a hard time. Yeah. I
I'm
was up
sorry you
all
did.
night, just
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but Mom, what you're telling me is so many people. Don't get me wrong. It was okay for me, but there was this anxiety that would
sure.
happen. And a lot of other people shared that with me that it wasn't a full night's sleep.
Yeah.
It wasn't a full night's sleep because we
No.
really didn't know. And look, I'm a New Yorker, and to turn on that TV and see 800 lives a day be lost, I
Mm.
I really was choked up. I really
No,
was
it's
choked up.
hard. How would you compare the two, New York versus LA stand-up scene?
Well, yeah, in New York, I definitely wore a little bit of makeup. It was jeans, it was this. But when I
Yeah.
came out here and everyone was so skinny, I'm like, oh, I gotta work out. And I mean, you want to talk about discipline? I worked out
Good for
like
you.
insane. But
I wound up
all
packing on 25 pounds. And I remember going to my manager and he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And I went to my friend, before I moved out to LA, I went to my friend's hair, Warren Jacomi studio. And she was a model and she goes, oh, he's going to give you a great haircut. Do you remember Carney Wilson? And she had
oh
those
my
like little bangs and it was
yes,
cheered. I look like Carney Wilson, but I was too fat to be the best friend, but I wasn't fat enough to be the fat girl. So I was in this limbo. And my manager, who was such a dick at the time, he goes, I show up with the haircut. I look like Pugsley from, the
oh
Addams
my God,
family.
oh
And
my God, Marla.
he goes, what am I gonna, he goes, what am I gonna do with this? Because when he signed me, I had hair and I wasn't, fat. And I show up
Yeah.
and and I had like the bangs. It was so bad.
Oh my
So
God,
bad.
wow.
So Trey, I want to keep this short, sweet, and snappy.
Yeah,
And I really love catching up with you.
me
And
too.
so tell me, what are you envisioning for 2021?
2021, I would like to get more involved with being a keynote speaker as well. Like I love the
Yeah,
comedy. I'm definitely going to push towards the comedy. I don't know how long it's going to take us to go into clubs, but I really love working as a speaker,
yeah.
sending my message out there, coaching people about their story and how to make it funnier and going to corporations and trying to make their story funnier. I just I really want to have that kind of success of having to see my father again, to see my sisters again, and I hope to see my family again, and my relationship with my boyfriend grows. Like those are the things that I want.
What was and what is your favorite joke in your repertoire?
Oh, my favorite. You know what I still love today is that I do look Jewish. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I love that. And I have this new joke that it's just a new one that I love that, when I get, because I'm in perimenopause and I kind of flip out and I call my sister up. I'm ready to beat, I have someone in a headlock. What do I do? And she's just like,
So funny.
have soy milk. Just have soy milk. I said, I got someone in a headlock here, and you want me to make a hot chocolate? Like, so the menopause stuff
So
is great, but
funny.
the Jewish stuff, I just love that Jewish stuff. I know it's old though, but
No, no,
that's one of my
no.
favorites.
It's still
I got to
good.
be honest though, when I see people, DJ Nash, all of them, Esposito, Esposito,
Yes,
it's
yes.
all that. And I'm like, oh my God, I really left a signature piece because they all repeat it 30 years later.
Well, you know what? When I run into people, you know what they say to me? Pussy.
Remember that? Oh my God.
Everybody with the grandma, she used to call me Pussycat, and then the Alzheimer's set in and it became Pussy. And she calls me up and she goes, "So, Pussy, I hear you had a date with a nice guy, so new." And I said, "Well, he was nice, but he was obsessed about food." And she's like, "Pussy, it is a very healthy sign for a man to be obsessed about eating, Pussy."
Oh,
That was That
well,
was my joke. Yeah. That's what everybody remembers. And when people call
well,
up and they do the voice, I'm like, you know what I
see,
mean?
but you see how they remember us? They still 30 years later will say Esposito, would still say pussy. Like
Yeah.
it's just that's our piece, yeah. So
So
the Jewish
maybe
jokes and the menopause are coming out good.
yes, they
Um,
are. So listen, where can people find you and how do they follow you?
oh, to follow me, well, I mean, my website is tracyesposito.com, and if they need to send me anything, but I'm on Instagram, Tracy A. Esposito, and Facebook and Twitter, Esposito Producer, and I'm
Nice.
around.
Really, I'm so thrilled. It's great catching up with you. And I'm so happy to see that you're doing so well and staying positive and looking forward to big things in 2021.
Yes, you
Love you.
got it. Me too. Love you, Mall. Love you.
Mwah. Love
Okay.
you, Trey.
All right, we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Absolutely.